Hello, you beautiful YouTube people. Long time no see. Good to see you. Did, did you change your hair? You did change your hair, didn't you? Did I change my... I see what you did there. That's a good one. Hi, gang. How are you? I am not doing the next installment of World Building. Will he ever do that again? Yes, I will. Because I found the box that had Phoenix Without Ashes by Ed Bryant and Harlan Ellison. And it has the intro by Harlan that discusses his adventures in creating a world for a science fiction television show and the nightmare that became. And I think it is very relevant to our discussion on world building. It highlights some things that writers should think about when they're building a world, and some of the pitfalls that can befall you if you don't think that through, or if you are working with Hollywood people who don't give a damn about a lot of that stuff. It is hilarious, and I want to share it with you. When Harlan Ellison gets on a good tear, it is a thing of beauty, and I think you will enjoy it. So that will be our next installment when we get back to world building. But that is not what we're talking about tonight, my friends. Tonight, we are discussing the Batman. Matt Reeves' The Batman. I finally got a chance to see it. I know I'm very late to this party. I am going to spoil the living hell out of this movie for you. So if you don't want that to happen, do not watch this. Go see the movie. Get in your car, hitchhike, maybe crawl in someone's trunk and hope that they're going in that general direction. But go see it and then come back and we can discuss it. I'll wait. Okay. Now, let's just go ahead and not bury the lead. I love this movie. I plan on seeing it a whole bunch more times. I think that the Batman is giving us something that we have never seen in a Batman film before. And Batman has been on the big screen, the small screen. He's been in comics. He's been animated. He is an iconic character. And while I know I am not alone in my love of the Batman, I have always connected the Batman with certain touchstones in my life. And I think he is a Jungian archetype. When I was in college, I actually wrote a paper on how Doc Savage, the Batman, and Sherlock Holmes were sort of the same archetype. And there are a lot of things in this new iteration of Batman that I got very excited about. And it was just something very fresh that we've never seen before. So let's jump into it. When I think of my version of Batman, while I remember just losing my mind as a kid over Adam West's Batman, they had reruns and it was just blew my mind. That is not what I think of when I think of Batman. I remember the 70s comics as Neil Adams art, and I want to say, I don't know if it was Denny O'Neil. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was Englehart and Rogers, which was another great run. But before them, there was Neil Adams and I'm going to say Denny O'Neil. I could be completely wrong about that. And if I am, I'm sure someone will spank me in the comments. So, but I remember as a kid, I remember reading like the 100 pages for 50 cent Batman comics. You know, they're like 90% reprints from the 30s, 40s, 50s. And there was the Detective Batman who had the huge fucking tank of a Batmobile. with the big bat hood ornament, and had the mobile crime lab in the trunk, which had things like fingerprint powder and infrared flashlight and all kinds of just neato little gadgets. When I went to college, a lot of my academic work was in forensic science, and I blame the Batman for that because I just fell in love with all of that. There are a lot of like good detective stories that were told in the 40s, 50s Batman, and then he became really campy. And you had a lot of frustrated science fiction writers writing Batman in the 60s and actually in the 50s too. But those 30s, 40s Batman stories, they were tight. And my Batman has always been the detective Batman. And that's something we really have not had a lot of in any of the iterations of Batman we've got in movies and television. There may be, there's always like a tip of the hat to the detective, but there's never really, you don't see a lot of it. I really enjoy the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. I've even gotten to where I've kind of hated Dark Knight Rises when it came out. But it's one of those movies that the more I've seen it, like the more times I've seen it, I pick up on things on it and I get more out of it. It's got a lot of problems, but I think that it's just went off. It does complete the story. They made some choices in the writing of the third one that I would not have made those choices. There's some plot holes you could drive a truck through, but and I will never get tired of, hello, I'm Bane. I'm going to be Rod's Halloween costume for the rest of time. So I really like the Nolan Batman movies. I think The Dark Knight is just a fantastic movie. Heath Ledger's Joker is an iconic performance, and that's going to be a really hard bar for anyone to kind of come over top of. I think it's a good crime film. It's like it's not just a superhero movie. It's actually kind of goes out of its way not to be a superhero movie, but it's a really good movie with some really cool writing and really interesting character arcs. I like that everyone gets compromised in The Dark Knight. Everyone is compromised in some way, and then they try to kind of follow that through in Dark Knight Rises, and I don't think it came through quite the way they wanted it to. But anyways, so I really do enjoy the Nolan movies. The Tim Burton movies, at the time, I never really was in love with them, but they hit that little nostalgia sweet spot. For what we had prior to them, they were pretty fucking awesome. I think I like Batman Returns more than I like Batman '89. And Tim Burton did, I think he picked up on the right kind of creepy vibe, but it still seemed really kind of cartoony and not my Batman. My Batman was when I was a kid. I remember reading, and I remember the Neil Adams art. I can't remember who. I want to say it was Denny O'Neil, but Batman with this long trailing cape, in a swamp, and he's like perched in a tree, and there's this huge like brooding Gothic mansion, and you're just sure that it's full of like ghosts and dead, murdered people in the walls, and it was just amazing. That is my Batman. That brooding Gothic aesthetic married to the Dark Knight detective, the world's greatest detective. And a damaged person who through strength of will made themselves something more than human. And Matt Reeves' Batman comes closer to my kind of idealized Batman than any other version has. And I can't recommend it enough. I really think if you're a fan of Batman, you go see it. It is long. It probably could have used a little more editing, but I heard one thing I heard was that it was originally like, tell my phone to shut up. Like 5 hours or something. And I gotta be honest, I would watch a 5-hour version of this. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it is long. And I'm gonna tell you this now, if you got kids, if you're looking for something like the Avengers or a Marvel haha superhero movie, little quips and jokes, and then an action piece, and then some more quips and jokes and an action piece, your kids are going to probably either be fucking terrified or bored. But if you are a grown-up and you dig on mystery and gothic horror and you dig on the Batman, you're going to probably love this movie. Robert Pattinson, I had the same reaction with Robert Pattinson that I had when I heard Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker. Like, what? Is that fucking pretty boy is going to be the Joker? What? Then I saw The Lighthouse. My daughter and I watched The Lighthouse one night, and holy fucking God. First of all, there's another movie. Go see that if you haven't seen it. Edgar's, the director of that, is doing a Nosferatu series, I believe, with Willem Dafoe, which is going to be horrifying and wonderful. But basically, Pattinson really does pull off a very compelling Bruce Wayne. He's 2 years into his career as the Batman, and at this point, he really is not Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is a shell. He lives and breathes being the Batman, and he spends most of the film in costume, which is also something that's very rare. Most of the Batman films kind of shy away from that. They'll have long stretches of normal stuff going on, and then an action piece with the Batman. He is the Batman pretty much 24/7, much to his detriment. There's this beautiful line early on where he says, 2 years of this has made me into a nocturnal creature. He can't stand the sunlight. He has no life outside of his crusade. Andy Serkis is a really good Alfred. He's not in this very much. He's in it just enough. But his Alfred is one of the things I really think everybody is understated, but it's not a bad thing. In a lot of like the Nolan Batman, Michael Caine is a great Alfred, but he's kind of over the top, and he's sort of the whole a ruby the size of a tangerine, and all of this stuff. This Alfred is there's a lot of stuff going on that is not spoken. It's not said. It's implied. And Pattinson's Batman is soft spoken. He doesn't have the growly, which I like that in Batman Begins, when he grabs the cop and brings the cop up, and we get, I swear to God, he's like, swear to me. That was like, fuck yeah. But then it got to be kind of like silly, like, he pulls up to the drive-thru. I want a quarter pounder. This Batman is soft-spoken. He doesn't raise his voice very often. When he does, it's because he's lost his shit. He's it's a very powerful performance, and he is a great Batman. All my doubts and concerns were completely unwarranted. After I saw The Lighthouse, I felt better about it, but I wasn't sure. And there was all this like tabloid bullshit that he was supposedly, being a prima donna and all of this. And I think a lot of that was just bullshit, because I don't see anything in this film that would make me think any of that was accurate. Zoe Kravitz is a amazing Selina Kyle, Catwoman. Again, I really liked Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. I think she was kind of iconic. Kind of a psychotic version of Catwoman, but a very compelling one. This one is very grounded, and actually this one reminds me more of the Selina Kyle from the books, from the comics, than I think any other version we've gotten. She is streetwise and street savvy. She collects strays. She has a compelling backstory, and you can feel the pain of her life and the scars that she carries in her performance. And her and Pattinson have really good chemistry together. They're kind of hot together, and you feel like they're these two damaged people that have been scarred by their lives. They're both orphans. There's a lot of orphans in this movie, and they handle that loss in different ways, but in some ways they're very similar. So basically, the gist of the story is a serial killer begins to prey on the wealthy and powerful in Gotham. He murders the mayor. He murders the police commissioner. He does a kind of a Saw sort of a thing with the district attorney, who all three of them happen to be corrupt as fuck. And the serial killer, who calls himself the Riddler, which, by the way, this is not the Frank Gorshin, Jim Carrey Riddler. This is, my friend Katie, her take on it was, this is Zodiac and BTK kind of mashed up. And there's definitely a Zodiac vibe to this. And it actually reminds me a little bit of Seven too. There's some real, and it's funny because the director, Matt Reeves, is like, he looks like Ned Flanders. It's like Oakley Dokley. He looks like an accountant, but man, he's tapped into the things in the Batman mythology that appeal to me, that I think appeal to a lot of people. If you are a child of the 90s, you will definitely get a vibe off of this. But basically, the Riddler is murdering these people, and of course that attracts the attention of Gotham's vigilante, the Batman. Which, one of the things I love in this too is we have James Gordon, and I am completely drawing a blank on the actor who plays him, but God, he's good. He was in Westworld, and I'm sure you guys can scream it in the comments. Hey, dumbass! His name is. Let's see. Hang on a second. I'm just gonna look it up. That's what I'm gonna do. Let's see. Not hot dog. All the excitement and electricity of live, unedited Jim Gordon. There we go. Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey motherfucking Wright is, I think he may be my favorite Jim Gordon. And that's saying a lot, because I really like Gary Oldman's Jim Gordon. But Gary Oldman's Jim Gordon always seemed a little neurotic. He always seemed like a little unstable or a little unsure of himself. Um, and my kind of iconic Jim Gordon is Batman Year One Jim Gordon. Batman Year One is really more Jim Gordon's story than it is Bruce Wayne's. And Jim Gordon is a badass in that. And he is quiet and methodical. He's a good cop. He's a good man. He has flaws, but he is probably the least flawed cop in a horribly flawed city. And Jeffrey Wright's Gordon really captures that. He's tough, and he's no bullshit, and he's a good cop. And he has befriended the Batman. The two of them are partners. And part of this movie has like a buddy cop vibe to it. My friend David was mentioning that there's a section of this movie where Gordon and Batman are kind of like teamed up doing shit together, and it's a really good chemistry. There's really nobody in this movie that really is a clunker. Everybody's chemistry really clicks. They all work really well together, and they really capture sort of the essence of the characters they're playing. So Lieutenant Gordon brings the Batman into the investigation of the mayor's murder by the Riddler, because the Riddler is leaving cards with ciphers that are addressed to the Batman. And as the story progresses and as more powerful people die, we discover there's this intricate plot. There's this conspiracy at the heart of all of the powerful, wealthy in the city, and that the Riddler is obsessed with dragging the truth of this conspiracy into the light. And I said I'm going to spoil the fuck out of this for you. They really mashed up the Riddler with Hush, who is another Batman. He's one of the newer Batman villains. He's only I think he showed up in the 90s, early 2000s, 90s, somewhere around in there. I'm gonna say early 2000s. And brilliant, just a great addition to the Rogues Gallery. And this Riddler is kind of a mashup between serial killer Riddler and Hush. They basically, as the movie progresses, and Batman is dragged deeper and deeper into this conspiracy and unraveling it, it begins to come home. It begins to have connections to his family and their murder, and some secrets of the Wayne family, which, by the way, in this, Martha Wayne was originally Martha Arkham. The Arkhams and the Waynes were the two founding families of Gotham. It has Falcone, Boss Falcone. I can't remember what Falcone's first name is. I should. Carmine Falcone is in this, and it's John Turturro, which it's weird because I remember seeing John Turturro in so much stuff where he was not sinister and gritty, and he is sinister and gritty as fuck. He plays a good elder statesman mobster in this, and again, really understated performance. Spot the fuck on. He's perfect. So this conspiracy starts to go back into generations. It goes back into the 20 years back into Gotham, and it, at the heart of it is the Wayne murders that created the Batman. And you have Falcone's right-hand man is Oz Cobblepot, the Penguin, played by Colin Farrell. If you did not know it was Colin Farrell, you would never in a million years guess that it was Colin Farrell. I love him. I mean, he is in danger of stealing the movie. He plays such just an amazing character, And one of the things I really like, and again, spoilers, you were warned. One of the things I really like about this too is Batman's rogues gallery remains pretty much intact by the end of the movie. You still have some of the bad guys around to show up again. And Oswald Cobblepot will definitely be back. Matter of fact, HBO Max is apparently going to do like a mini series or something about Penguin, which when I first heard that, I heard that before I saw this. I was like going, really? It'd be like them doing a Star Wars mini series about the little Gonk droid. You know, it'd be like Gonk, the mini series, 8 episodes, you know, hour long each of the Gonk droid. I am psyched for the fucking Penguin series now because he is just fucking amazing. The Batmobile. Fuck. I think this may be my favorite Batmobile. I think this is probably my favorite Bat costume because it looks real. It looks like not something that some multimillionaire with an R&D facility at his disposal would have. It looks like it was cobbled together. I mean, you can tell in some scenes where you can see like the shoelaces tucked in for his boots, and it looks practical. It looks good. We have a little bit of bulletproof Batman syndrome in this, which I know some people hate. I hated it less in this than I have in some others. Because there are, you know, basically it is clear that the withering gunfire that he endures fucks him up. It just doesn't kill him. There's also a scene which I'm gonna just go ahead and say it because most people I've talked to and most of the things I've read and seen about the movie since I saw it seem to be in agreement on. There is a point in this where Batman is down and he has to get up and he pulls out this vial of this green liquid shit and jams it into a port in his armor, and he comes up like he's on fucking roids, like roid rage Batman. And I'm pretty sure that's Venom. And there was a really cool story arc in Legends of the Dark Knight where Bruce ended up addicted to Venom for a while because he ended up using Venom as a shortcut, so he didn't have to work out so much. It took too much of his time to stay in physical condition. And he was already starting to, even as a young man, was starting to like feel the effects of his lifestyle. His chosen occupation was wearing on him. So he, you know, roided up a little bit with Venom. And it was a nice little tip of the hat. There are little things like that, like in Wayne Tower. They have the Shakespeare bust from the 60s Batman where they flip the head and flip the switch and they'd have the bat poles. Just lots of cool little things like that. It's very clear. They mentioned Bloodhaven, which is a town across the river from Gotham, which is just as shitty as Gotham, basically. Is where Nightwing decided to kind of like become his own crime fighter when the original Nightwing series was set in Bloodhaven. And there's actually a few things, like, for example, Nightwing's car, the muscle car he had in that series when he was running around Bloodhaven, is very much like the Batmobile in this. So it's really clear that Matt Reeves like knows his Batman, that he loves this shit. He lives it and he breathes it. And I think that really this is a love letter. And it is very much a detective story. And it's an engaging detective story. And it's a buddy cop film. It's two men fighting against a corrupt system in a corrupt city. It's a little bit of a love story, but just a little bit. It's really more of like two really lost people finding each other, which is it. And it's not sappy, and it's not overdone, and it ends exactly the way it should end. I love this movie. I could keep babbling on about it, but I think you kind of got the general idea. Basically, the Riddler's crusade to unmask the truth of this conspiracy just blows Gotham City to pieces, metaphorically and literally. And Batman, and I'm not going to call him Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne is a shell in this movie. He really is. But he realizes that he can't just be this Dark Knight detective. He can't just be vengeance. He has to become more. And this Batman doesn't kill. He doesn't, he maims, he maims the fuck out of some people, but he works with the cops, even though the cops do not trust him, and some of them hate him. Jim Gordon believes in it, and he believes in Jim Gordon. And that there's a friendship there, there's a bond there that is beautiful. And it's a movie about strength of relationships and how a strong enough relationship based on a strong foundation can survive catastrophe, can survive the world exploding around it. It's a great movie. I cannot recommend it enough. If you go and see it and you hate it, feel free to leave a comment. If you go and see it and you love it, feel free to leave a comment. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. If you are interested, if this movie makes you want more Batman, I was watching Gary from Nerdrotic, and he was actually brought up a very good point, which is there has pretty much been excellent runs on Batman from the 70s through the 80s, 90s, 2000s. It's one of the comics that has really had excellent writing, excellent art, some just fantastic arcs. And I'm not a big fan of the oh god, I just blanked on his name. I think I traumatically blocked out his name. The CIA guy that did this last 100, he was going to do 100 issues and they kicked him off of it because he was, I don't know, I just, it wasn't my cup of tea. When he started out, the first part of his run I was okay with, but there are some amazing runs. Why can't I remember his name? Oh my god. Anyways, there's a lot of great arcs, and this movie taps into a lot of those. Hush, there's some No Man's Land, The Long Halloween, which that's a great place to start. That would be a great one to start with. You can get it as a trade paperback. Batman, The Long Halloween. It's fucking amazing. So I guess that's it. I promise I'll stop geeking out about that. No, I won't. No, I won't. And by the way, I'm just gonna warn you now, you're gonna have the fucking theme to this stuck in your head for at least 2 weeks. This and the Nirvana song that they use in it are going to be stuck in your fucking head. So just get ready for that. Enjoy it. I think you're really going to like it. And if you don't, you have no soul. No, I'm just you know, I mean, it's not a perfect movie. It's really long. But I think it's probably the best Batman movie. It's hard for me to judge it against the other Batman movies because it's so different. We get a different take on this character, different take on the world. And I really like this take. And I like it. I think I like it more than the Nolan Batman. And that's saying a lot because I really love The Dark Knight. I think that's a great freaking movie. And after nipples on the bat suit and all this shit we got with the Schumacher Batman movies, you know, the Nolan movies were very refreshing. But I think this one captures the things that make me love Batman the most of all the Batman movies. So I really recommend it. Next time, which I hope will be soon, I'm really going to try to start doing more stuff with Patreon and more stuff on here, guys. I'm sorry, I'm a terrible person, but I'll try to be better. Next time, world building, Harlan Ellison. Prepare for the snark. Please like the video, like the channel, Share the video if you think it's worth sharing. I'm trying to grow the channel. I really do want more folks on here, and got one of my folks from Patreon jumped on tonight. So thank you, John. I appreciate that. And just please, like the channel, and hit your the little bell for notifications when there's new stuff coming out. And I will see you on the next video, guys. Same bat time, same bat channel. And take care. Go see it. You will not regret it.